Hey everybody. Today we are going to do a little bit of maintenance here on the Gourami Tank. Not a lot, but I do need to get in there and thin out some of that Water Sprite on the left there. I will probably wipe down the glass while I'm in there. That's not really that big of a deal. While I got the top off and I've got the water level down, I may as well do that. I am going to do a water change. But again, the key thing is going to be getting in there and thinning out some of that Water Sprite. The Java Fern that I've got growing here in the middle is actually growing pretty thick towards the back. You can actually see my whiptail catfish, my Farlowella, back there. So I think today I might get back there and remove a little bit of that Java Fern to allow for the water to flow across the back of the tank a little more freely. I do have a power head back here in the left-hand corner. That is 650 gallons per hour, so it really moves a lot of water. But I have so much stuff in this tank, it actually really slows the water flow down. You can see those roots in the back there, they're sort of kicked off to the right. That's due to the water flow from the power head. So once it gets back to where all this fern is, that's so thick in the back, it kind of stops everything right there and creates a detritus trap, rather than moving it down towards this end of the tank, which is where I have my filter intake, and it helps to keep the tank a little cleaner that way. So I'm going to remove that, and I'm really going to get in and do a lot of work removing some of this Water Sprite. Now this Water Sprite is interesting. I'm not sure why it grows the way it grows. Even if it were lace leaf, it would not look the way this does. You see how it looks almost spiny and spiky? Very unusual. I'm not really sure what the deal with that is. I don't know why it grows that way. I'm guessing that it's possibly some sort of nutrient deficiency. It's certainly not a light deficiency. If you will see these broader leaves, this one right here directly in front of us is a perfect example. You can see these two little sections where there's broader leaves, and then they have a few little small roots hanging down off of them. Those are the babies coming off of this plant. So the plant itself, as I suspected, is a standard Water Sprite, like you can see here, a broadleaf Water Sprite. But when you actually look at the plant itself, you see how the larger plant has these sort of spindly, spiny looking leaves to it? Not really sure what that's all about. But this is a thick, dense mat of that plant. And I'm going to get in there and remove a ton of it. It's not going to be big chunks. It's going to be lots and lots and lots of little stuff. If you see all of these roots hanging down, every one of those little root clusters is another little baby plant. And they are all through it. So I'm going to attempt to do what I do in my 125, which is to keep the mother plant intact as much as possible and get in there and just carefully trim out all of the stuff in the middle to allow light to get down. Unfortunately, this whole side of the tank here to the left is very dark down on the bottom. I know it looks good and it's enough light for the Java Fern to do just fine, but for filming purposes it makes it a little tough to see what's going on down there. Even standing here it's a little dark, and when it comes out on film it comes out much darker. So that's going to be my goals for today. I'm not going to mess around with the filter. I'm having some issues with my Sun filters. I've got two of them now that I know of where the UV lighting is actually deteriorating the plastic in the tubing. I'm going to do a video about this here in the very near future. I'm going to talk specifically about my issue with my filters. I want to call the company. I've already sent them an email in regards to it, and I got no response, which didn't really surprise me all that much. But there is a phone number. It's just been the holidays, and now that it's tomorrow's going to be Monday, back to business hours, etc., I'm just going to go ahead and give them a call tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. So I will be doing a video just strictly about the filters here in the very near future, and about my problem and how and if I ever got it resolved or whatever. So look forward to that. I'm not going to mess with the filter in this video. It's just going to be a simple before and after. So have your last look at what it looks like before. Yeah, that's what it looks like after. So I really got in there and removed a lot of that Water Sprite. That actually was not my surprising part of the water change and the plant removal though, but we'll take a look at that first. You can see I got in there and removed a whole lot of the babies, and I even removed quite a few chunks of the main plant to reduce it to a few main branches, and we're going to let it start building and growing from there, and hopefully pretty soon it'll fill back in and look nice and thick. The Java Fern over here turned out to be much, much thicker and denser and bigger than I ever realized. It was also all the way in the back of the tank. It was rooted down in the bottom. It did far more than create a detritus trap. It was just enormous. So I managed to break one little piece of it off, and I've got it wedged underneath of that rock. You can actually see all the way through there into the back now. You see how much lower the gravel is on the left-hand side versus the right? It looks like it goes up a step. That's where that fern came out, and it pulled a huge wad of gravel out with it. Here, let me get the overhead light turned on. So this is the Java Fern I got from it. Get a hold of the bottom here. And I mean, it is a nice chunk of Java Fern. I can't even really hold it far enough away to get a good look at it. That is all the Water Sprite I cut out of there. That's just waste that's getting thrown away. This Java Fern, though, will find a new home. I know it's kind of funky and there's a lot of stuff in there. I'll probably give it a spritz with some hydrogen peroxide. Again, I don't recommend messing around with the hydrogen peroxide. If you don't really know what you're doing, you can kill plants with it pretty easily. But I do want to work on this tank more. I do want to get some more plants in there. I don't really have any plants growing in the bottom other than this Anubias in the middle. So I think some pieces of this Java will go nicely in this tank. I'm also having issues with, walk around here for a minute, also having issues with this tank. The plants in here are not doing well at all. They're doing that thing where the leaves are melting, and I'm spending more time cleaning dead leaves out of here than actually having plants. And you can see these are almost bare stems all the way up the length of the plant. Now over time they might adapt and settle in and start growing and flourishing, but the way that T-Bar digs with the sand in here and everything, I'm really not so sure I even want the temple plant in this tank at all. So I think what's going to happen is some of that Java is going to get moved over here and tucked in around some of these rocks on the bottom, and I will allow the Java to actually attach to the rocks and grow rather than have the temple plant in there. So that's probably where all that's going to end up. And since we've walked all the way around the room, we may as well have a little look. The 125. I do have a cloth draped over the brackish tank and my very brightly lit quarantine tank on the bottom, just for the sake of not putting glare on the tank we were originally looking at. So thanks for watching this one. I hope that was enjoyable. Make sure you're subscribed, that way you won't miss anything I got coming up. Again, I thank you for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.